Naso contains several very important laws, but the most complex, and to us the most difficult to understand, is the law of the Sotah. On the face of it, on the surface of it, the Sotah is the right of a husband who suspects his wife of infidelity to bring her to the temple, to the priest, and the priest gets her to drink some water in which the name of God is dissolved and dust from the floor of the tabernacle or temple is combined, and the Sotah takes an oath that she has not done anything wrong. She then drinks the water, and if she has done something wrong, it shows physically in the decay of her body, and if not, life carries on happily, normally, and she returns to her husband, and they have children, and everybody lives happily ever after. But the trouble is, it's not as simple as that. It's not just when a husband suspects his wife. After all, according to Jewish law, you cannot convict anybody or find anybody guilty unless you have witnesses, and 2 witnesses at that. And in addition, you also have to have witnesses to the scene. You can't rely on circumstantial evidence. And you need another 2 witnesses that know you've been given warning as to what the crime is and what the punishment is. Without that, you can never convict. You might decide that such a person needs, shall we say, psychological treatment or to protect society. So, for example, if you see somebody with a sword run into a room, hear a scream, a man run out with a bloody sword, then go into the room and see that there are 2 decapitated corpses, you still can't actually convict the man of murder unless all these conditions have been met. You might well put him away to protect society from him, but that's a different issue. So here we're dealing with a situation where a man has every reason to suspect his wife. He actually told her, don't mix with this guy, don't have anything to do with him. But she did actually disappear into a hotel room with him. There was no evidence, no cameras there, nobody to actually see what happened. And at the end of the night, she comes out. And so, giving that as an example, the Sotah only applies where a husband has good grounds to suspect his wife, but can't bring the evidence. And therefore, this was a way of clarifying. Where you don't have actual evidence, you relied in those days on oaths because nobody wanted to take God's name in vain as a way of clarifying not only this, but for example, who owed money to whom, and there was no evidence of who the debt was and for how much. So this was not just, I have a suspicion, I think my wife is getting up to monkey business. This is much more serious. But the rabbis of the Talmud went even further, and they said that a man is checked by these waters to see if he is guiltless. He can't just demand his wife to be guiltless if he himself is not, and so the waters, in a sense, check him out too. And not only that, but what the rabbis developed was the idea that this could only work in a society where people were virtuous and law-abiding. And that's why Yochanan ben Zakkai actually stopped the ceremony of the Sotah. He said, I don't see that the men are being any better than the women or the women any worse than the men in this society. I don't see why men should have this right. And so here's an example of where a great rabbi decides a law of the Torah is not applicable at this particular moment, and I'm therefore going to suspend it. But it's not just that. Because all the laws of the Torah have this deeper meaning. And for example, the rebellious son, which according to the Torah you could put to death. The Talmud says there never was such a case. It's only there to give us an important lesson. So what is the lesson here? The lesson here, say the rabbis, is that the name of God is dissolved into water. That's really something we should be really reluctant to do. And the only time we do it is in the attempt to bring peace between a husband and wife. that shalom bayit, relationships matter so much that that's the extent to which God is prepared to go, and we are prepared to go in order to try to patch things up. And that's why the reward of patching this up is that husband and wife come back together and they have children together and they have a wonderful life together. So the message is not the negative one so much as distrust, as saying a relationship relies on trust. And if you don't have this trust, we have to do whatever we can to patch it up. If in the end it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But until we reach that point, we have to do our best. And that's what the lesson of the Sotah teaches us.